So now we will revise the isomerism and stereochemistry, which you can find in chapter 18 of Chemistry Cube book. If we talk about isomers, we can differentiate between structural isomers and stereoisomers. And you can briefly explain that structural isomers have a different arrangement of the atoms, whereas stereoisomers have the same arrangement of the atoms, but the position of the atoms in space is different. And now we will start with the structural isomers, and here you can find a subdivision of structural isomers. So we have three different types of structural isomers. And the first type is the so-called chain isomers, the second position isomers, and the third functional group isomers. And if we now start with these three types of isomers, we will start with the definition for chain isomers. And chain isomers differentiate in the connection of the carbon chain, but they have the same molecular formula. And you can see here an example for this kind of chain isomers. So for example, we focus on the molecule with the formula C5H12. And you can see that you could draw this molecule like a straight chain molecule, which would then be pentane. But also it is possible that you draw a chain of only 4 carbon atoms, and then you have a methyl group on one of the carbon atoms. So then we talk about 2-methyl-butane instead of pentane. And this is the first example for a chain isomer. So you can then also see that these two molecules have a different physical property, which is, for example, the boiling point. And when we go to the next type of structural isomers, we have the position isomers. And again, we have the same molecular formula. So we have a molecule with the formula C4H9 and Cl. And then again, you can, for example, draw just a straight line where you have the 4 carbon atoms, and then at the end position the chlorine. And then we talk about 1-chloroputane. However, you could also draw a carbon chain with only the same carbon chain with the position of the chlorine not at the end position, but on the second carbon atom. And then we have 2-chloroputane. So that means a position isomer has a functional group which is at a different position in the carbon chain. And again, we will then see different physical properties, for example, a different boiling point. The third type of structural isomers is the functional group isomer. And if we talk about functional group isomers, we know that we have a molecule, or we have 2 molecules with the same molecular formula, but in different functional groups. So, for example, we can differentiate between an alcohol and an ether. So this is the example here. We have a molecule with the formula C3H8O, and then we could either draw a carbon chain with 3 carbon atoms and at the end position an alcohol group. Then we talk about propane 1-ol, or we draw a carbon chain where we have 2 carbon atoms, then an ether group, and then again methyl group at the end position. Then we talk about methoxyethane. And here you can see that you have either an alcohol or an ether with the same molecular formula. And if we have such type of structural isomer, then the isomers do not only have physical or different physical properties, but also different chemical properties. So this is due to the fact that you have completely different functional groups than in the molecule. And what is Now, important for you that you just have in mind that if you have just a molecular formula, you can have different molecules at the end depending on which type of structural isomer you consider.